Welcome to the Thrive Master Show. On this episode, we have Sande Golgart. He's a husband and proud father of 2 boys. He's a disruptive technology and business enthusiast. Sande is the president of Zonez, ZONEZ.com. They work with innovative companies and help them develop their work processes to become more efficient, productive, and nowadays a high emphasis on being healthy and safe. Sande, welcome to the Thrive Master Show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Glad to have you. My first question to you is, if you had to give a master class from your experience and your zone of genius, what would it be on?
Wow. I would have to say building high-performing teams, not only because that is so incredibly important. It's very difficult to accomplish anything on your own. But I think one of the things I've grown to appreciate is just how valuable each individual, can be, and then bringing that cohesive group together with the right vision and executing on it kind of blows you away and humbles you just how much a full team of performers with the same objectives can accomplish versus what you on your own might be able to accomplish. So I think from the standpoint, I've been fortunate enough to do that a few times, and I've seen the power and reap the benefits of that. But I've also been humbled by just how powerful that can be. And I have an amazing passion for doing that. I mean, that to me is the most fun, is seeing people come together for a common goal and watch how much more they can accomplish.
Great. We'll get back to your passion a little bit later on. And now I want to know a little bit about you and your childhood and where did you come from?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Denver, Colorado. Grew up in the suburbs there. Normal suburban childhood. Got into sports, played all different sports through high school. Was the state champion high jumper, and went on to play college basketball, Division I at the University of Colorado. So unlike the movie, I was set out to prove that white men can jump. That was my mission. So in doing that, then graduated, lived in Colorado for a brief time. Then we started a family and decided we wanted to live by the water. We picked up everything, moved out to Seattle, Washington, and we've been here ever since.
Now, great. So when we're a little bit young, we're not sure exactly, the path we're going to go on. We have a lot of things going on. Do you remember a moment where things started aligning for you towards where you are now today?
Yeah, I mean, vividly. I remember the day my wife and I realized we were pregnant with our first child, and waking up the next morning with so much more clarity than I had ever had, previous, where you're kind of wondering and thinking, gosh, maybe I'll do a little of this, maybe I'll do a little of that, maybe I'll be in finance, maybe technology sounds cool. You don't really know. And you're just kind of dabbling around. Having a child and that level of responsibility kind of brings your focus to a point that is very difficult to achieve, I think, without that. And I remember the next morning going, wow, I better figure out exactly what I'm good at, do it very well, because it's not just me, it's not just me and my wife anymore. It's other people who are truly coming into the world relying on you, knowing that you have your stuff together and that you can provide for them. So that to me was a moment where you knew everything got a little bit more serious and brought a lot more meaning to waking up at the right time, getting in and putting in the work, and everything else.
Now, along the way, what skill would you say you have developed that has really served you, whether on a personal level or on a team level?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you would call it necessarily a skill, but just I think one of the things that I rely on is an undying will to succeed. I think when you're faced with so many different challenges that come in all different kinds of forms, You also look at things that you're good at. You also recognize there's a lot of things that you might not be good at. But if you have that undying will to get through whatever it is, you'll ultimately succeed. And I think from athletic background, different coaches that I had, you were never able to kind of throw your arms up and say, well, I'm not good at that. You know, nobody cared. You still had a job to get done and you had to find a way to do it. And if you wanted to do it well, you had to put in maybe extra time on things you weren't good at and put in extra time than other people were putting into it. And I think that has probably served me better than anything else. And I fall on that, or I think about that a lot, like in stressful times, like back in April when we were hit, or even March with COVID, you know, it didn't matter what you're good at, what you're not good at, it mattered. Are you willing to put in the time, the effort, whatever it takes to come out stronger on the other side? And I think I have mentally always gravitated to that. Like, well, whatever it takes, that's what we have to do. You know, and I had a boss about midway through my career, and he had this very same thing. He's from Argentina. And he would say, I don't care if you have to fax me the numbers, you know, this CRM and all that stuff, it doesn't matter to me. We just need to get the job done. If we're going to be successful, we have to know these things. So however you need to get them to me, you know, get them to me. And again, I don't care if they're faxed. I don't care if you have to call me, but we're going to get the job done and move forward. And so, you know, technology, there's a lot of things that make life better, more efficient, easier. But you still have to have that undying will to succeed, to get through all the minutia that it takes to be successful.
So would you say was it the sports environment that nurtured that, or did you have maybe a father figure or some other mentor that kind of shaped this attitude of yours?
Yeah, a mother figure.
Oh, mother figure.
Yeah, my mom at a very early age joined a company as their secretary and just was determined, you know, to outwork everybody, get ahead, make sure the company thrived, and ultimately worked her way into being the owner of that company. And so she would never accept anything other than whatever it took. Didn't have time for you were good at it, not good at it. This was the job. Go get it done and make sure you do it better than anyone else. And that was instilled in me at a very young age.
So now, along the way of wanting to win or accomplishing a project or a business, you're going to have some setbacks, some failures. How do you deal with those now compared to before, maybe?
Yeah, or many failures.
Yes.
You know, I've never been afraid of failing. I've always bought into the fact that you only fail the day you quit. Otherwise, you're learning. So I you know, try with everything to not look at it as a failure, but what can I learn from it? How can I do it different next time? What is it that caused us to not do this as well as we needed to? And those happen all the time. And I think the more you can open your mind and accept the fact that you're not going to do everything perfect, but you do have to get stuff done. And in that process is going to mean not everything's going to be perfect. So take the time to remember that not everything is a disaster, right? Some failures are bigger than others. And so you don't have to sweat all the small things. But when you do find something that needs to improve, that didn't go very well, you know, don't overreact, take a breath, step away from it. I oftentimes will set out on a bike ride. I ride my road bike and my mountain bike quite a bit. And some of those bigger disasters that feel like the world's caving in, rather than react to it, I'll head out on an hour bike ride, usually come back with a lot more clarity and kind of reassess, what do we need to do to go back and fix that, make sure that it doesn't happen again. And that served me well, you know, over the years, not reacting in the moment, not reacting with emotion, but taking that out of it, getting recentered, and then figuring it out from there.
That's a very practical tip. On that note of it's either you win or you lose. I mean, or you learn. Sorry. My 7-year-old is in jiu-jitsu, and recently he was talking to his friends. This is when we weren't down in a lockdown, and he said, "Guys, there's no losing. There's only learning. And he picked this up from the jiu-jitsu coach. And I called him up. I said, I just want to let you know that I'm proud of this more than you teaching him how to choke out people.
Yeah.
This
right.
attitude, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that'll serve him well for the rest of his life. And I think that's a good discipline, whether it's, you know, your jujitsu coach or athletic coach or music, you know, dance, any of those things. You draw from coaches, mentors, those learnings that not only shape you for one moment, but they can shape the course of the rest of your life, which is why I think those things are so important, you know, to get involved in early.
Yes, yes. That's been the biggest payoff. Yes, them learning from people who are actually succeeding and taking in on that advice that they give. Now, going forward to today, there's a quote that I saw of yours on your Instagram, not Instagram, sorry, LinkedIn. It said that you are a disruptive technology and business enthusiast. And this is the perfect time that we're in, and you kind of almost have to have that attitude in order to survive and thrive in the moment that we're in right now.
Now more than ever, I mean, the speed of change has accelerated to the point that if you're not thinking that way, and thinking that way, not just about how can I go disrupt something else, but how are people thinking about disrupting me, you know, and my business. And if you're not, you know, you're destined to become the next blockbuster that people look at and say, gosh, everyone used to have this card in their wallet. They were even offered the opportunity to buy Netflix, turned it down, said, you know, we're so big, we're foolproof, you know, failure proof. And that was I mean, in a matter of just a couple short years, there's no more. I think there's only one Blockbuster store left, and now it's turned into a B&B in Oregon. So, you know, that's always interested me. And I think there's some industries that have been fortunate maybe to not be disrupted. But one of them that is starting to become disruptive is traditional construction. And you're seeing that more and more with modular things that are built off-site. You can bring them on-site, have them constructed in a matter of hours, not months. And that really intrigued me to get involved with Zones and to take over that particular company. But we needed it more than ever when the pandemic hit. You know, the things that make modular construction so great were also our biggest Achilles heel. The fact that it's easy, it's more cost effective and timely meant a lot of companies could push that off and make those decisions later, which doesn't help you when you're trying to stay afloat as a small startup company. So we had to quickly think on our feet, you know, what did we have? We had to take inventory. And fortunately, we have a tremendous pool of experience within our company, engineers who have been doing modular construction, things like clean room technology, negative pressure rooms. They've been doing that for over 25 years with some of the largest companies like SpaceX, Facebook, the largest pharmaceuticals. And we thought there has to be something in that knowledge where we can help companies. So we set out in March to really understand where companies were going to need to be met on the other side of this pandemic. All of the research started to point towards these big problems that people were going to face. How do I de-densify my workstations? How do I keep proper distance between people in a world that has now crammed people into open floor plans of 60 square feet per person? What kind of dividing technology do I need to put in place? And more important than anything, Gensler's research said, you know, we have to quickly recognize that air is the most shared resource among any people that are working together. And so we took that back to our engineers and they said, one of the biggest problems is you're going to have these air purifiers, HVAC systems that will clean the air great when nobody's there. But once you have people on the floor, that air is being shared and it can't reach the HVAC system. It can't be cleaned quickly enough. So you have to bring something to the source where air is coughed, exhaled, and sneezed into the environment and find a way to block it and filter the air before it's then shared. And that's what led us to the technology that we recently launched, which is our Clean Zones technology, which is an air blocking and filtration device that goes right to the workstation. So each individual can have their air cleaned so that it's not, bad air is not reaching their neighbor or their coworker, and any bad air that's coming towards them is also being filtered. So it does serves a dual purpose there to clean and filter the air before it can be shared among the workforce. And then that also is great for things like COVID. It's great for annual flu season and allergies, but also now the work that we've done, and Harvard's done a tremendous study just looking at the effects of clean air and the impact that bad air can have on your cognitive thinking. This is one of those tools that will be with us on the other side of this pandemic that will be valued by everybody. The benefits of having filtered air is really significant. So we're very happy to be able to bring that to the market, help companies get back to work, but ultimately help employees be more healthy, more productive moving forward into the future.
So to give me a visual, typically you have an open space in an office, but what you guys are doing, you have these modules that you can custom make, and each one has its own air purifying system. Is that
That's
what it is?
correct. Yeah, so it's a desk mounted panel, and embedded in that panel is an air filtration device. It's got basically the same 5 layers of filtration that you would find in a medical grade unit, but we've brought it to the individual workspace so that air is cleaning your individual workspace and cleaning it before it can reach others. So think of a panel that almost everybody has. Inside that would be an air filtration unit.
Now, is it mainly now for office space buildings, or is this now like maybe even for restaurants or anywhere anybody can custom make them?
Yeah, restaurants are using them. Retail is using it. Retail's using it both in the stores. We do also sell an individual unit that's a standalone, so you don't have to have it on a desk. You can have it. One of our customers is a jeweler. They have these units all throughout the jewelry store, and then up at like the cash register where you would check out. And that's doing a great service to everybody. It's keeping the employees of that jewelry store healthy. It's keeping the customers healthy as well, and it's instilling buyer confidence. It's everything. Everyone in retail knows one of the keys is getting people in the store. If they're not coming in and you don't have a great online presence, and buying high-end jewelry, that's one of the things you typically want to see in person and have a trusting relationship with the person that you're buying it from, and you can do that no better than in person. So it's restaurants, it's retail. We have dentists that use it, and they again can bring the air filtration right to the point at which the exam is happening, not just in the HVAC system. And then of course it works tremendously in the office environment.
Great. Now, how were you guys able to bring this up to speed very fast? Was this something you guys were doing before COVID as well, and that COVID now just pushed it even faster out than typical?
Yeah, it's a great question. We were focused on building freestanding modular suites. We weren't even thinking about the air. We should have been, but fortunately we had a division within our large parent company that had been doing clean air for a long time. So with those two things, it just got us thinking, how could we use what we know and our expertise to create something? And so once we understood the problem, when we brought it back to them, we found this unique opportunity to create something at the source that would filter the air. We then went to work, and you can imagine the number of problems that we then faced. It took a tremendous amount of effort and rapid prototyping. Thinking of any and all opportunities, and a very tight timeline. This wasn't something we could wait 2 or 3 years to get right. So we had to think, who do we partner with? Who are the people who are experts in air filtration? We found those people. We brought a bunch of people together to create this really unique solution. And by outsourcing some of the levels of expertise, it allowed us to get there a lot quicker. And then again, our kind of undying will to succeed and get this out in time and launch it without having to go through the trials and errors of us figuring out the air filtration, allowed us to deliver it in July of this year and bring it to market. We had our first customer in August.
Great. And now also, one of the things that's happening is people are working from home, because you're focusing on bringing people back to the office and back into the business. Is this something that individuals can buy for their home? Because you mentioned one of the benefits is health, by itself, right?
Health and productivity. I mean, one of the things I noticed really quickly was I was no longer reaching for that extra espresso in the afternoon, or working late nights. And just by having the air filtration devices constantly running in my own home, I recognized the ability to think more clearly, get more work done, work longer into the night with a clear head and clear focus, and to be productive. And so now a lot of our users are using this at home. Even teachers who are doing online learning have these air filtration devices set up in their home. And I was never more appreciative of all the work that we did than I was this summer when both of my boys came back from college. They were in the house. Both had brought COVID back with them unknowingly. So we were locked up for 14 days in quarantine. All my wife and I had were these air filtration devices, and 2 kids living in the same house for 14 days. We couldn't even go outside. And fortunately, we were able to stay COVID free throughout that period of time. And that was just blind luck that we had those. We had gone down this road and we had these devices in our house, and they've been running ever since.
I don't know, for some reason, a thought popped in my head. Get one of these filtration systems so you can save your marriage or something like that. Less fighting in the family or something.
Yeah. Well, I will say everyone in the family certainly appreciates it. We all, fortunately we have 6 of them in our house, and, having them constantly on and constantly running. We've got dogs. My wife and my youngest son both have allergies, and this was the best allergy season they had ever gone through. Just noticing that the effects that they had were minimal this year compared to previous years. So it serves so many different purposes across a wide range of issues that we all deal with, whether we realize it or not, come from the air. And if you're not filtering it, you're leaving yourself to consume air that's not filtered, which has a lot of side effects, whether it is cognitive thinking, being tired, having allergies, spreading flu, spreading COVID, and all those things. They can all have a tremendous impact on each individual or an entire family. So it's one of those things that I think on the other side of it, having clean air is going to be the big lasting remaining change that everyone's going to move towards after this pandemic.
Now, where's the best place that people can find information about what you're doing?
Yeah, we have a landing page set up specifically for the Clean Zones brand. People can find that at cleanzones.com, one word. Zones is spelled Z-O-N-E-Z. So that landing page, if you want a spec sheet or any information specific to Clean Zones, you can find it there. Also at our website, zones.com, Z-O-N-E-Z.com, you can find the links to the Clean Zones product, videos, spec sheets, all the information. And we have several white papers that detail the science behind it to make sure that our customers understand, how it delivers the right number of air exchanges, which are dictated by the CDC in their recommendations, how our unit produces those. We actually go above and beyond what's called for, so they can learn all about it at zones.com or cleanzones.com.
Great. My last question was going to be, how do you prepare for the next 5 years? But if I had to summarize a little bit from what I heard about you, it would be have a will to win, have a great team around you, and make sure you're breathing clean air for the next 5 years so you can be productive.
That's right. You nailed it. That's a perfect summary.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sande, and I look forward to more about you down the line.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on, and it's been a pleasure.